Hello again, you sick, twisted weather freaks out there, and welcome to another fun-filled, action-packed, and intellectually stimulating edition of This Week in Weather. I'm your host, meteorologist DT from weatherist.com, the captain of chaos, the colonel of confusion, the commander of catastrophe. It's a 9 p.m. rather here Sunday evening, 6 p.m. on the West Coast. The Phillies have won 3 straight games. I'm so happy. Let's talk about weather. This week in weather, we've got a couple of different events to talk about. Mainly is the huge upper low, the big rain event, which is coming starting the middle of the week and continuing through into the weekend and early next week over all the Midwest, which is going to bring about severe flooding and all sorts of problems, severe weather threat as well. And so much water is already on the ground there that this additional rain is going to cause all sorts of planting delays. So after May 10th, the delays begin to pile up and really begin to affect the corn yield as the corn goes into the ground later and later. And then even beyond that, it looks like that the second half of May, which originally I thought was going to be warm and dry, may not even be that. So lots to talk about. Let's get right to it. All right, this here is the GFS here from Saturday morning, and let me point out a couple things here. First, the GFS is not a very good model when it comes to these major events. Its accuracy is all over the place here, and what's happening is because the model mishandles the blocking pattern in the western Atlantic, it ends up closing the upper low very far to the east. Now you can see here the upper low on the 0Z Saturday GFS was over Tennessee and Kentucky, and what that does is there's the surface low here. You can see a lot of east wind here, a lot of cold wind coming in this way. So this actually looked like snow here over portions of Tennessee, Kentucky, maybe the mountains there, and then heavy rain in the mid-Atlantic states. But again, that's because the upper low is so far to the east. If we actually followed it on, we would see, now this is some changes. Now this is the GFS and the European from Saturday morning, and we can see some important changes here. Now this was the, like I said, this is the 0Z GFS. We can see the time frame here. Now this is 6 hours later, and look where the upper low is. It's now over Missouri instead of Tennessee or Kentucky. You see how it shifted to the west? And here's the European, which is now even further to the west over Missouri. So the GFS was already shifting further to the west with each passing run, and that's usually a very good sign that the European model is correct and the GFS is bogus when you see that sort of shift going on. Now here's the European model from Saturday afternoon, the 12Z run, and we can see some important features here. Here, of course, is the monster upper low over over Kansas and Missouri and Nebraska. And then we have the dome. Notice the dome right here, a very big feature here. So that keeps everybody warm and dry. You can see there's no clouds here. Everybody on the East Coast is warm and dry. And here's our moisture feed getting wrapped up into the system. So the European has a dome over the East Coast. It's much drier everywhere. You've got a lot of rain over the plains in the Midwest. And it's just an all totally different situation here. And we'll see why it gets trapped and how important this system becomes. Now, the 18Z Saturday GFS suddenly shifted course. Remember, just a few hours ago, or 3 runs ago, it had heavy rain over the mid-Atlantic states and Ohio Valley. Now we can see that the upper low is, as you can see here, over Kansas, Missouri, right there. And we can see a very nice dome, like the European had, a nice ridge right over the East Coast. So everybody here is dry. No rain there, and all the rain is back getting wrapped up into the system like this and like this. So once again, the European model is looking more and more to be correct here. So, and now this is the GFS from Sunday afternoon, and we can see why this system gets trapped over the Midwest for several days here. This here is the blocking feature. This here is a dome right here. You can see our dome. It's a negative NAO, a little bit negative NAO right here. And then here's an ocean storm. So what we have here is a Rex block. Okay, that's where you have a high, and then the lows underneath it. There's our low, there's our high, so this is a Rex block. So this feature has to stall. It can't go until this is out of the way. And that's really what happens. And we have there's a big ridge here on the West Coast as well. So that's really what all the situation is. And if we look at for this weekend, now this is 7 or 8 days from now, we can see more of the same sort of thing. The system is trapped here, and right here and here. This is another Rex block. Okay, there's our low, there's our high, and here's the high, and there's the low. So we have a Rex block here and a Rex block here. And this system has no place to go. Now, it's not going to rain all the time, every single day, over all portions of the Midwest and the Eastern Plains, but a lot of it is. And it's going to be over, when it's not, it's going to be overcast with drizzle and below normal temperatures. So this is really bad conditions for planting that corn, and it's going to be all sorts of problems down the road, I'm afraid, here. All right, now we go to the next slide. We see this is the total rainfall here through Sunday evening through May 6th, we could see huge amounts of rains over the Midwest and into the eastern plains as well, coming up from the southeastern states. And if we look at our teleconnections, we'll see not a lot of variability here. And that means that whatever driving the pattern is probably going to stay that way. Now, this here is the Arctic Oscillation. It's a little negative early on, May 1st, 2nd, then it goes up, and then it goes neutral. Right? We can see that. This here is the NAO. It's a little negative right away. You can see right here. It's a little negative early on in the period, right here. And that's when a blocking pattern develops. That's where the block develops right in there. Then after that, it's neutral, so that makes sense. And then this here is the EPO, which is neutral all the way through, and the PNA, which drops down a little bit early on in the period, then it jumps up, and then goes neutral again. So none of these are very strong indications of any driving forces in the pattern here. So the current pattern is the one that's going to be the dominant one. This is a signal for persistence, and this is what I'm worried about. Now, this is the European at day 9, day 10, and we can see that we still have, believe it or not, this is what's really impressive. There's the ocean storm right here. And here's our ridge. See that? So this system is still around 10 days from now over Michigan. Wow. Not going anywhere. Here's our next trough, next piece of energy there. This could be another rain event in week 2 for the Midwest. So very, very stormy looking pattern. Now here's the European. And again, we can see the same sort of thing. This is the ocean low, right? And here's our block here. There's our Rex block, and there it is, another low, another high here. Here's the other Rex block in this area. And this system has to stall, cannot go anyplace. It's just that simple. This is the European morning of Saturday, May 4th, upper lows over Missouri. And that green there represents temperatures might be cold enough for snow over portions of Missouri. And then this is Sunday, May 5th. The system's not going anywhere. Now, over the East Coast, it's warm and it's dry. It's a super nice weekend on the East Coast. Right in here, here's our ridge. All right, and there's there's the next system coming in this way, but this system can go no place at all right now. Now, finally, this is May 6th. The system is in Illinois still in Illinois. Talk about a slow-moving system. Now, the European rain amounts, I think, are a little underdone. This is the next 5 days here. We can see, nice these are 2-inch rains in here. But then we go to the next slide, we'll see that in the 6 to 10 day, the European has also good rains throughout all the Midwest as well. But like I said, these may be underdone. I think they're going to be increasing. And then finally, this is now May 7th, the evening of May 7th, and we can day 10 out. We can see here that the system is finally leaving, and here's our next 2 systems coming in that way. So very impressive looking slow-moving storm. This is the European day 10 ensemble mean, and it has the mean trough like this here, and another one here coming in. So the wave train continues. No doubt about that. Let me clear that slide out. And this is the GFS here at 312 hours out, and what we're seeing here is another trough right in here, and the energy is coming in this way, gaining a little bit of latitude. Now, if this trough, let me call it up again. If this trough was further to the west, let's say over here, then the storms would be missing the Midwest. But because it's here, it looks like more storming is coming in for the Midwest in the week 2 time frame. And that's really what I'm worried about. Now, this is the CFS here for week 3 and week 4. And this is a precipitation. And we can see a little bit of drying here. We're getting some signals here of drying. And we've had this for several days over the Midwest, here and here. Still very wet over Canada. Canada is kind of a problem planting this year, looks like, as well. But still looks pretty good for the Midwest. In week 3 and week 4, that's the second half of May. And then temperatures a little warm over the New England and the Great Lakes, but generally for the Midwest, either normal or below normal, week 3 or 4. The problem is here the MJO doesn't support that. The MJO actually indicates it might be wetter. And here's the MJO here for as of, I guess this is as of April 27th, and we can see the MJO is in the circle of death right here. It's neutral, right? We all see that. But what happens is that if you go out in time, this is the European here, out to May 12th, you can see that. And what the European is doing is, see, it brings it out. Oops. Brings it out into phase 2 and phase 3. See this? And if you look at the European ensembles, they also do the same thing. They actually have it a little stronger. Here's the European weekly ensembles, and we can see that it's even stronger. Look at this. It brings it way out into phase 2 and phase 3, and then even to phase 4. So what does that actually mean? Well, those are pretty wet patterns, actually, if you look at the conditions. The GFS keeps it neutral and dead, does not develop it at all. So assuming the European is correct here, what this means is that in phase 2 and phase 3, notice it looks pretty cool over the Midwest and the Plain States in phase 2 and 3, and wet over the Midwest and then wet over the Plain States. So if in fact the MGO does move into phase 2 and phase 3 in the second half of May, then it's certainly not going to warm up and dry out. So that's pretty obvious. That's what I'm concerned about anyway. Anyway, that's the report. This is meteorologist DT. I'll talk to you soon.